Hi, this is Anna, Imagination with the Garden, and good morning. This is Shifting Perspectives. I am talking on stage fright this morning. There's actually going to be a few topics I go over that are fear-based, the untalked about fear bases. There is, I have a list of them all over the place. It's those fears that they're root fears or they're base fears. They're the fears that we actually never name, the fears that everything covers up. And stage fright is a great example of this because what that really is the core fear of being seen. Or, yeah, it's the core fear of being seen. It could also be the fear of failing. That's a very common one. That's one we actually talk about a lot, is fear of failing. And then the other ones we have is fear of growth, fear of talking. And then one of my favorites, we all know this one, is fear of change. We all know that one. That one's a rare one that we all talk about. Rare in the sense of it's rare that we talk about any of these, but that one gets a lot of attention. Fear of failing gets a lot of attention, but fear of yourself, that's a big one. When we are abused for our authenticity, we are actually taught that it's not safe to be ourselves. So we develop a fear of being ourselves. We develop a fear of ourselves. That's a big one. And that's really that is like the of all the core, this is the mother of basic fears, is fear of yourself. You become your own PTSD trigger. Yeah. I remember the first time I said that, I was with some girlfriends and we were all hanging out at a cabin and she was explaining how she was feeling. This particular friend of mine has severe PTSD to the point where physical contact is not allowed ever. To get a hug from her is a rare treat. And she was talking to me about some of her things. And I explained to her that we have such an ingrained fear of ourselves because of abuse, where we associate abuse and being beaten with ourselves, that we actually develop a PTSD trigger in connection with our own self, our identity. And it was the first time I had actually covered that topic in my own mind, where I'm like, oh, we're afraid of ourselves. And that is really what you're trying to get over. Is here's how it works. You have your PTSD triggers, but we don't put ourselves on that list. And then you try and be yourself. You get triggered and you fall back into your mask. That's why we wear masks. It's one of the reasons why we wear masks. There's two reasons why we wear masks. The first reason is because we're afraid of ourselves. But the other reason is because the mask is basically a denial of the situation. And that's it. It is a denial of the situation. It's very much us going, I don't want to look at the problem. I don't want to be reminded of the problem. So we all wear masks to basically allow us to forget the abuse that we're not dealing with. This is like, there's the abuse, and then there's the underneath abuse. And the underneath abuse is where all these actual fears are. And this is really my core issue with psychologies, with traditional therapy, is this right here, is there is surface and then there's deep. And you can talk about surface all day long and it's not going to solve anything. You got to talk about the deep shit. And the deep shit is almost unknown to most people. And as a result, it doesn't get talked about because everyone's spending time talking about who did what to who when. That's gossip. That's gossip. That does nothing. And that's really what happens when you go into traditional therapy, is people just gossip because they're talking about just the shallow stuff on top, and they're not getting into the deep issues. And the deep issues are these fears. Fear of rejection, we all know that one. Fear of abandonment, not the same thing. I'm going to be going through every one of these fears and digging right into them but in this one, I want to talk about stage fright, which is a combination of fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, and fear of being seen. Now, for me, it's fear of being seen. Now, in addition to fear of being seen, you're also naked up there. In your identity, you're naked because Ironically, you can't act unless you reach down deep into your identity and pull it out of you. Isn't that funny? In order to put on a mask on stage, you have to be yourself. And it's very true. That is exactly it. In order to do that, you have to pull it off. So here's how this works. Fears. Fears are complicated little creatures. They really are. And there's basically the avoidant. And in this case, we are all avoidant. There is no workaround. I talk about projection all the time. I talk about all the different avenues. Really, when it comes down to it, we're all avoidance. We are all avoidance. And that is like our go-to number one, how we're going to get around this, how we're going to cope with trauma, how we're going to cope with our fears. And fear is very much an avoidant. By the way, every time I talk about fear, I imagine Inside Out, and I imagine the little blue skinny guy running around going, ah, I remember him. And I remember Jerry. It depends on which side. If it's a full system failure shutdown, then Jerry comes to mind. But for the most part, when fear is behaving, I imagine fear from Inside Out. I loved that movie. There was so much about that movie that was spot on. Other stuff, I'm like, wow, they really simplified that. That's cute. Like they simplified it too much. And I'm going, okay. But the dissociation, when they put the idea and then the whole panel started to go gray, that's dissociation. Oh my God. I had so much fun with it. I'm like, that is clever. And the way they describe sadness, beautiful work. Sadness. Oh my God. I love sadness. Sadness and missing someone. Missing someone is part of sadness. And sadness is not a bad emotion. Sadness gets a lot of rap. Anger gets a bad rap. And yeah, oh my God. Oh my God. I love the movie Inside Out. All right. So fear. Fear is an actual avoidant. So these are the fears that are so terrifying that we avoid them. We avoid them so much that we put masks on them. We avoid them so much that we deny them, that we have distractions. That's a big one. We distract ourselves. And understanding what a distraction is and understanding when you use a distraction is a huge, huge part of, yeah. I was talking this morning in my Facebook group. I mentioned to people about, do you feel like you're in your own way? Or what if you are the one in your own way? And it got a lot of colorful reactions. Usually when I post something, I get a lot of likes, a lot of hearts. This got everything from likes to hearts. I think someone laughed. There was anger in there. Anger. And I'm like, wow, people are angry about this one. And then the comments ranged from sarcasm. Sarcasm and I do not get along. They ranged from sarcasm all the way down to some serious, like it got a full spectrum. And I'm like, wow. It was really fascinating to see people. Like I said, usually it's a very, oh, we're all going to like this. We're all going to love this. We're all going to like and love this. Or we're all going to hate this. We're all going to be, no, this is all of it. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Look at all the logical, like it just went full spectrum. So I really want to kind of focus on that today. Like I really want to dive into that particular topic. And this is part of it. This is it right here. When you are in your own way, the first thing is you're dealing with fear. Absolutely. You're dealing with fear. The other thing is you are dealing with the subconscious mind, and that's really who's responsible for all this bullshit. Now, I'm going to say a million times over, you are not your subconscious mind. I want you to imagine you are conscious awareness. So if you are not consciously aware, if you are not actively able to become consciously aware, then it's not you. You are no more responsible for your subconscious mind than you are responsible for the person sitting next to you. Like you have no control. You can overcome, you can learn, rise up, and override. You can become mindful and educated and then take control of your life so you're not doing things as mindlessly. But your subconscious mind is not you. They are two completely different things. And you have no control over your subconscious mind. Your impulse, your fear, what emotions come to you, you do not have control over that. You can persuade, manipulate, shift, yes. And once you get really, really good at it, this is called self-awareness. Once you become really good at it, it puts you in a position where you're able to better manage it, or you are less likely to turn everything over to the subconscious mind. But it's not you. And the reason why this is so important that you understand is because it's about accountability. That's the first one. And the second thing is it ends self-hatred. That's why. And those are really, really important topics. So we're going to talk about those two things because this is all part of why you are in your own way. When you are accountable for your subconscious mind, first of all, in order for you to be accountable for something, you have to be consciously aware of it. You're not. That's why the subconscious mind keeps getting in your way. If you lack the education and the knowledge of how the subconscious mind works, and most likely you do, then you aren't going to have any ability to control it any more than a child can control what they think, feel, do because they're children. I'm talking like 2, 3-year-old children. There's no sentience. If there's no sentience, you can't be held accountable. Now, once you know better, I'm going to tell you a story. When my children were around 5, 6 years old, I sat them all at the table and I taught them every swear word, every one of them. I said, all right, here's the rules. My children were not allowed to swear until they hit 18 years old. And the reason why is because I wanted them to be mindful of swearing so that if they were to go into a job interview, they would have the ability to control their swearing. I wanted them to be mindful of swearing. So the best way to do that was to say, no swearing until you're 18. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with swearing. I just wanted them to be mindful of it. So when they were 5 years old, 6, I sat them down at the kitchen table and I wrote down every swear word, every one. And we walked over the actual meaning. They were allowed for that hour to swear and say whatever they wanted. They had a blast with it. They were like, yeah, we're adults. Look at So they were like all over the place with the swearing. And it was a really fun hour. And then it ended like this. Now that you guys are aware of it, you are now held accountable for it. You have full conscious awareness. And if I hear you swearing, you will be punished. Now, if they were upset, they were allowed to swear. In the sense of keep that in check. That's not a default setting when you're upset. Likewise, the flip side of that, they did get into the habit of saying, can I swear? Absolutely. So they were allowed a free card to say, I need free range to say whatever. And then I would basically allow the censors to come off. So the children had censors where they had to consciously filter everything they said. But when they got to that point where self-expression became more important than propriety, that's when I said, you're allowed to swear. And sometimes their tops would blow, teenage years, and great example of this. It would all just come out in the middle of it and I'd let it go. So recently, this is great. 2 weeks ago, this happened. My daughter stepped on a thorn a year ago. She was at her grandmother's house. She came back and she's like, I stepped on a thorn, but I got it out. We're like, okay. And about a month, 2 months later, she developed a plantar's wart. We did all the treatments and this thing would not go away. I took her to the foot doctor. It's now a year. Took her to the foot doctor. Foot doctor examined it. All right, it's all done. She kept saying, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. We bring her back home. A month later, take her back to the foot doctor. He cleans it out. Okay, it's gone now. There was an infection there. It's gone now. It's all clean. And I'm like, all right. She's still going, Mom, it hurts. It hurts. I'm like, all right, we'll have to take you back. Before I could get her back, I'm sitting here one night working and I hear Mom, and it's the voice that says, there is something wrong. Drop everything, go. So I did. I got in there. I love how it's a tone. It's that tone. Mom, I'm like, I'm on my way. So I drop everything. I go in there and there is a thorn, a rose thorn, poking out, pointy side out first, pointing out, just sticking out of the bottom of her foot. I took pictures. It's really epic. It took us an hour, maybe 2 hours to get it out. I had to take pliers eventually and just pull it. She did not get it out. It stayed in there for a year. While it was in her foot, it turned around And then when she was like squeezing, it popped out. But the base of the thorn was so large, it got stuck. So I had to take pliers and pull the rest of it out. Now, when I pulled it out, every swear word came out of her mouth, things I did not know she could say. And I just, okay, let her. It was like, and I told her, I said, you're allowed free range to swear all night. It was the first time in a year her foot did not hurt. The pain is completely gone. It's now healed up. Holy shit. Like that thing was in her foot for a year. So, but that space of time from the moment I ripped it out and she just let the swear words, it's like, all right, conscious awareness. Conscious awareness is the difference between you and your subconscious mind. That means a lot because your subconscious mind is not sentient. It is a machine. It is an AI. You are no more responsible for your subconscious mind than you are your computer. Now, what you are responsible for is your conscious awareness, your ego. Ego is a bad word. Ego is a word I cannot just throw out of the English language and say, we're going to come up with something new, like mental illness. Mental illness, we're throwing that one away. It's not used in this space. Behavioral defense is used in this space because mental illness is such a negative derogative. It is such an insult. It is so disgusting and it is so inaccurate. I'm throwing mental illness completely out the window. I hereby declare that the concept and the word ceases to exist in my kingdom. Behavioral defense is the correct term. I can't do that with ego. Ego is spot on. It's the right word. But it is so poorly ill-defined that people are misusing it. Ego does not mean pride. Ego does not mean arrogance. Ego does not mean confidence. Ego is not an emotion. Ego is not a state of mind. Ego is who. Ego is not abstract. Ego is you. It's a who. And we just don't get that because it was introduced by Freud back in the 19th century, and it is a highly abstract concept. So people couldn't comprehend that ego is a who. It's a you. So when I say your ego, I am deliberately referring to your conscious awareness. So you are responsible for your conscious awareness. You are responsible for your sentience, your awareness. This is where accountability lives. Once you become aware that you have this accountability, now you can use it to override, control, tame, submit, seduce your subconscious mind. And that is the difference. Now, you can't do that if you don't understand the subconscious mind, which is why it's so important that we learn how the subconscious mind works. Self-loathing is another problem. When you take responsibility for your subconscious mind, that every single time, it turns into self-loathing. Every fucking time. People will have their subconscious mind go off and do something weird. And they will say, I did it. No, you didn't. Your ego did not do it. Your super ego did. And there's a big difference. The subconscious mind is super ego. So it goes off and it does its own thing. And you're sitting here going, no, it's not. And immediately that turns into, why did I do this? You didn't do it? Stop holding yourself accountable for an AI machine that's in your brain. You can't control the subconscious mind any more than you can control your heartbeat, any more than you can control your nervous system. If you have a leg that just gives out and you hate on yourself, why am I doing that? There is no I attached to the interactions of your body. And that's it right there. When your body does something really weird, you don't say, why am I doing this? The word I means ego. Oh, good God, read Ayn Rand. Read Ayn Rand. Just read Ayn Rand. Read Anthem. By the way, this is 100% philosophy. Psychology borrowed from all this crap. Well, psychology really borrowed from philosophy. So this isn't psychology that I'm talking about right now. This is philosophy. I equals ego equals the conscious awareness. That's what this is. I equals ego. So every time you use the word I did it, you are saying my ego or my conscious awareness did it. You are very much like holding those two things together. I and ego are the same thing, and they are conscious awareness. Now, that all being said, your subconscious mind is not part of that, not even close. It's like having this weird twitch going, I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what this is. It's kind of doing its own thing. So stop holding yourself accountable for your subconscious mind, because that just leads to self-loathing. You can't control it. I mean, yeah, you can't control it. You can discipline it. You can become its dominatrix, which I do show you how, but you cannot control the subconscious mind. You can just master how it works, so you can literally manipulate it so you can get it where you need it to get. It's more of a reconditioning than it is a manipulation. So that's the first thing. When we are in our own way, it's actually the subconscious mind completely blowing up in our faces, doing its own thing to keep you safe. And it is keeping you safe because it has a list inside of itself, a programmed list that words put there called the danger list. And the words are all of your fears: fear of failing, fear of being seen, fear of making a mistake, fear of growth, fear of talking, fear of change, fear of being yourself, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. I think those are all of them. This is such a simple, basic list that it's generic. Like, here's the list: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 items on the list. There are only 9 basic fears. And every fear that a person has can be broken down to these 9. If you can identify which one you're dealing with, easy peasy. And there's a way you can tell which one you're dealing with. Every time you feel the emotion guilt, which is really the emotion shame, you're not feeling guilt, you're feeling shame. Rejection and abandonment is what you're actually feeling. You and those, we're going to break down fear. We're going to get right into the science of fear. I'm going to enjoy this series. Oh my God, yes. So rejection and abandonment are 100% linked to belonging. They are where you belong. It's your safe place. It's your home, it's your kin, it's your family, it's your past. So when you are suffering from fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, what you are really doing is being afraid of being an outcast. It's that whole, I got to blend in, I got to be with the crowd, I got to be the same, I got to be, because if you don't, you lose your belonging. Big fucking deal. Big fucking deal. Fear of disapproval would be another really good one. So we're going to break down all these fears. There's not many. You could sit there and, well, I'm afraid of spiders. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of control. Control is a big fucking one. Control's like the biggest one. That's the first one. It all comes down to a fear of not being able to control. And then they all stem off of that one. And yeah. People talk about anger being a tertiary emotion. Oh, no, anger is not a tertiary emotion. Anger has nothing to do with fear. Anger has nothing to do with fear. They are unrelated. You can be angry and have no fear. Anger has nothing to do with fear. Fear results from an unresolved attack because your anger did not do what you were supposed to do with your anger. Defend yourself. But anger and fear are completely unrelated. The idea that fear or that anger is a tertiary emotion from fear, I just want to, that is bad psychology. That is such sloppy psychology. There's no other words for it. It's sloppy psychology. No, it's not. Anger comes from your defense system. Has nothing to do with your fear system. In fact, they're polar opposites. Because a healthy person will have anger. And saying that it's fear, that's a huge, I'm going to put away that soapbox because that's a whole nother video. I get angry. I get angry when I hear about people like insisting that it's a tertiary emotion to fear, and I'm like, no, it's not. They could not have fucked that up more than they did. It's because of that mentality and that theory that results in people throwing anger away. Oh, that was actually my number one problem with Buddhism was their approach to anger. Oh my God, I'm very upset with Buddhists on this one. Their whole philosophy on what anger is and how to approach it is dead wrong. I lived as a Buddhist for a year and I'm going, mm-mm, no, because I understand the psychology of anger. Anger is the healthiest emotion we have. Anger keeps you safe. People associate anger with aggression and, oh, I can't remember the other word, violence. Yeah, I think it's just violence, anger and violence, because people who are angry and violent usually are angry. The problem is, and in that case, what ends up happening is they feel threatened. They always feel threatened. That's why anger comes in. You feel threatened, so anger steps up and says you can't do that. It's actually self-love. That's what anger is. It's self-love. When you lack self-love, you don't get angry. You let people treat you like shit. That's it right there. Like anger comes from love. It doesn't come from fear. It comes from the polar opposite. Anger is attached to love because when you have self-love, you get angry. In fact, that is like the keystone of healing. It's like the pinnacle of healing. You are ready to heal and turn your life around when you get to anger because the breaking point is inside anger. Oh my God, there is no fear at all present in this entire cycle. All right, so back to fear. So your subconscious mind is basically the reason why you are in your own way. It's because you are contesting with your subconscious mind and you are holding yourself accountable for the behavior of your subconscious mind, which you're not even aware of. And then you turn on yourself and you end up hating the ego for something the subconscious mind did. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. And the subconscious mind runs off with a program, got to keep everybody safe. So it has this programmed list of this is what's dangerous. And that list is the one we do not talk about. We don't talk about it because it's scary. Because, haha, we're all avoidance. Because if we start looking at this list, dun, 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 you can't avoid it anymore. You have to actually deal with it. So as long as you pretend it doesn't exist, ignore the problem, distract yourself, deny it, wear a mask, oh, the subconscious mind will do anything to make sure you stay safe, including avoiding the big problem that you don't want to deal with because, well, then it can't keep you safe. Now it's going to have to go into the danger zone. And that is the one thing that, oh, this is beautiful, the danger zone. I need to do like a whole thing on the danger zone because there is this marked space that the subconscious mind has marked off called the danger zone. And the subconscious mind basically has a list of, okay, you can't go in there because that's the danger zone. And the danger zone is the danger zone is what I call the fourth level of the subconscious mind. It is the subconscious mind's proverbial closet filled with all of its skeletons. And that's what it is. The fourth level of the subconscious mind is the danger zone. And that is where it crams everything that it defines as a threat. So we are going to go through the fourth level of the subconscious mind. After this, I'm going to go ahead and have my coffee, shut this down, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the danger zone, the fourth level of the subconscious mind. Oh, we are ripping apart fear today. Oh, yay. Once you get down to the bottom of fear, you can do anything. Truly, you can do anything because the fear is gone. All right. If you love shit like this, like, subscribe, follow, comment below. Let me know what part of the show resonated with you. And take a look at my Authenticity City, my directory. The information is down below. Go ahead and read the whole thing that I've got there. I have like an explanation of what it is I do here. And go ahead and take a look at it. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.